morning. Welcome to today's video. I'm going to be showing you what I have done today. And I started today with doing the school run, and then I had a walk on the beach. It was beautiful today, really clear blue skies, big waves actually, quite big waves. So there were a lot of surfers out in the sea. There were quite a few photographers on the pier taking pictures of the surfers. And the tide was quite far in, so there wasn't really much room to walk on the beach. So I did wander up and down. I took some photos or some video shots and just sat and enjoyed it. I love to just spend, even if it's just 10 minutes in the morning, looking at the sea, taking in the surroundings. It's so beautiful and it's so calming. I then came home and made myself a coffee and tidied up my studio area a little bit and came to sit down to do some drawing. I had half an hour to get a few sketches done, and then it was time to go and visit my nan. So my nana is 93 and she's currently in a home at the moment. She's not been very well recently. So one of the family always tries to go and visit every day, and Tuesdays is my designated day, and most Wednesdays as well. So I love spending the morning with her. We have so much fun. We just drink tea and play dominoes. But yeah, she's a very special lady to me, so it means the world to spend that time with her. I then did the food shop on the way home, and then I had the afternoon before the school run again to get some more art done. So that is where I carried on with the drawings that I started this morning, and I also was diving into a little bit of paint, just playing around with some paint. I feel like I've not even scratched the surface with this yet, so something I want to do is some more abstracts, which I'm going to be doing this week. So just playing around with splattering, just freely letting myself play with the paint. I'm looking forward to doing that. And then it was time for the school run, and I then do family stuff before I prep tea. And then once we sit down in the evening, I then have time to sketch and draw, just sat on the sofa in front of the TV. So just really chilled evening, and that's actually when I get a lot of my work done. It's great for filming in the day, so I try and get any filming done early on. But yeah, just to make art for myself as well. There's something really important about doing that, just making art for myself that I'm not really bothered about anyone else seeing. But this is also where the 100-day project is coming in really handy, because it means that I can kind of like unconsciously just make work every day, and it doesn't even matter if it's good or not. In fact, it's better to try and push myself into the zone of not making very good art, to get it out of my system, to experiment, to kind of push the boundaries and find the way that I really love to work. So I'm enjoying that process, and I really find that time in the evening really special to me. It's become kind of a really sacred time of just me time, even if I have my headphones on sometimes and I'm watching some YouTube videos, and I'll just draw whilst I do that as well. So that's pretty much sums up the day, but I'm going to show you now some drawing footage of what I drew and the paint work that I did today. Okay, so I just want to show you what I've been working on in my sketchbook. And I was really inspired to start doing some big abstract pages. So not very figurative or illustrative, just playing with colour, layering it up, and inspired by this page, which was my Neocolor 2s, water activated, and then using pencil to draw in on top and creating just like lots of lovely texture and marks and just interesting things. I think that's what I'm looking for, is interesting things going on the page, and how like the different mediums kind of combine to create something that's going on. Sorry if you can hear Kiwi in the background. That's our budgie. So these next two pages, I used my gouache paints. Let me get them. So trying out my gouache paints, I haven't worked in these for ages, and oh my goodness, I forgot how much fun they are. They feel like watercolour. I end up sort of watering them down, using quite a bit of water and sloshing them around on the page, and they're just so beautiful the way they go down. The colour is so vibrant. It's a very kind of satiny finish, and it's very different to watercolour, which ends up being, have I got one in here? No. Watercolour can be quite muted colours, and I really like the punch that you get with the pigment in the gouache, and I love the fact that these are easy to then work on top of as well. So here you can see these were wet when I put them on, so there's kind of a bleed into each other, and it's interesting to me that it's a different kind of bleed than you would get from a watercolour. So it feels a little bit more vague and a little bit more I don't know, it's not as crisp. It almost feels foggy, if that's even a term. Like there's sort of a fogginess about how these colours are blending together, versus with the watercolour where you get definite kind of bleed and interesting textures. So again, it's just so fun. Like, this is why I love playing with different mediums and just seeing what happens, seeing what results come through, seeing what I like. And as these stand, these are pretty messy, I would not say finished at all, pieces. And if I first just drew or painted this as a finished piece, I would not be happy with it. But my idea here is to then layer on top of it. So that's what I'm going to do, probably with my Neocolors, because I love these. Neocolors and pencils as well. Just keep layering and see what happens. Now these two spreads, I used ink. And again, I love ink. Can you see here the difference? So see the bleed here. So I wet the page first, and then I splodged on the ink, and look at these beautiful sort of veins that come through. They're so stunning. I love these little textures. And just swirling paints together. I've also got this gold ink. Let me try and find the bottle so I can show you the inks that I used. They're Jackson brand, so they were kind of the cheapest ones. But again, just love getting some colour down on the page. I love the vibrancy of these, that packs a punch. And just interesting how they blend together. So this is the gold with the blue and lots of water. And it's just kind of interesting. It's very subtle what's going on in the background, and it kind of contrasts with this powerful punch that you get from the blue on its own. And similar here, so I just used blue and purple and a lot of water, and you can see in some places it's very muted, and you can see where there was a lot of water, and other places you can see where the ink was quite saturated. So here, for example. But again, I love this kind of fluidity that it gives the page and the colour, a lot of movement, and it's a great base layer to then work on top of. So that's what I'm going to be doing next, is working into these just to kind of see what happens. Again, these are absolutely experiments, nothing right or wrong with it, just going to go with the flow. And then what I like from these experiments, I can then take forward and explore more as well and play around with. Okay, I just want to show you where I'm at with these painted layers. I've been scribbling into them until they look super messy. So there's a lot of craziness going on now, and I'm trying to make it as messy as possible, as kind of textured and patterned and lots going on. And then I'm going to use white gesso and go over the top to kind of mute things down and sort of blend it together and hopefully bring it together in a more subtle way. But yeah, I just want you to see the process. So I just want to show you the finished painted pages that I've just done. So this was over the gouache, and you can see how much it's kind of muted out all the crazy colour that was underneath just by adding the white gesso, and it's really blended everything together, and it makes a really interesting background. I'm not sure how I feel about it overall with everything else. I think this would be really fun to do on a big scale and then cut up or tear up the paper and then draw around. So that is an idea that it's given me. I also quite like the idea of really adding in, to say like here, really making some sections very white and really bringing it back to a very neutral ground and then drawing over the top of that as well. So that's another idea I've had. So it's interesting to see how just doing a few pages can really inspire how you can move forwards. And so that's where I've got to, I think, with all of today's experiments. So I'm excited to see where this project goes.